It's time to talk money with Dominic Alafaci from Collins House, fellow Collingwood supporter. Look at us in our scarves sitting here. It was good, wasn't it?
Oh, it was exciting, nerve-wracking, and all of the above.
All of the above. Let's start off with the overnight report.
Yeah, look, last night the markets are lower after Fed Reserve Jerome Powell signalled he will keep interest rates high for longer in coordination with the central banks around the world, which puts pressure on the cost of capital. The Dow Jones fell just over 1/3% to 33,964, whilst the Nasdaq was steady at 13,212, and the S&P 500 dropped 1/4% to 4,320. Across Atlantic, London's FTSE eked out a small gain to end the session at 7,684, with the French, German and Italian bourses all lower. Gold put on $6 to $1,945.60 an ounce, which in my book is still a buy up to $1,950, whilst West Texas Intermediate hit $90.03 after a 40-cent rise, and Brent crude was 53 cents higher at $93.83 US.
Sounds like a character from Home and Away, doesn't it? Brent crude.
It does. Hey, can we start your funds management business, what we were talking about in the break?
Yes, happy to do that.
We'll talk about it if we've got time at the end.
Yeah.
The Aussie dollar is currently buying 61.41 US cents, and the ASX 200 SPY is 18 points lower, signalling we're having a weaker start on Monday, following yesterday's effort where our market managed to put on just over 3 points to end the session at 7,069. And don't forget, by the way, we're opening up the Tele-Finance consultations with me again. So go to collinshouse.com if you want a free video conference with me and save up to $880.
Perfect. I like it. Now, where do you want to start, Dominic?
Collingwood?
Yes. Good idea.
All right. Or should we take people's calls? I mean, we don't want to be...
Give us a ring if you have it.
We should help them. We should help them in the short time that we have on the radio. But we can talk about what a terrific team Greater Western Sydney are.
Yeah.
Toby Green, what a star.
Yes.
And what well done to Collingwood. And I tipped them to win by 2 points, so I was wrong.
I've just come back from Singapore. That has become an expensive city, and with our Aussie dollar at 82 cents, I think. Yeah. I went to Raffles by myself because I do it every year, and I thought I'll get a Tiger beer. And I sat there and I thought that was so good, I'm having another one. So I had 2 beers. Yeah. Large beers in lovely frosted Tiger glasses. Enjoyed that. $
80.
57 Singapore.
Jeepers.
Converted.
$80
Around $80 Australian.
For 2 beers.
Yeah.
I did. I had one, and it was $48 when you convert it back to Aussie.
Yeah.
Is that the Raffles prices? Or is that
Raffles are really expensive.
Raffles.
They're the best bathrooms in Singapore, I reckon.
Oh, they were beautiful.
They're places.
I didn't stay there, of course. I just stayed there for a couple of hours and went to the bar.
But you watched probably the best Formula One race I've seen in a long time. That, what was his name?
Sainz.
Yeah, Carlos just kept off...
in the Ferrari.
Yeah, kept off the 2 McLarens.
Yeah.
So not the
Red
McLaren,
Bull.
sorry. They kept the Mercedes off, I should say, and then the most gorgeous man in the world smashed and went into the wall, the poor bugger. What's his name? George.
2 surnames. Russell.
Yeah, Russell. He's got the best eyes of any man I've ever seen. He looks like a model, don't you reckon? You've seen George Russell's eyes?
I don't know.
I have a man crush on him, even he's going for the other team. But anyway, that was
Sainz first. Lando Norris was second.
That's right. Norris helped him, and
Lewis Hamilton third. In the Mercedes.
Because poor George crashed. But you've probably seen the most exciting Grand Prix in a long, long time, and probably the most exciting with me last night and the other 97,000 fans.
Yeah.
Preliminary final.
Margaret joins us. Good morning.
Oh, hello. I'll just to COVID, please excuse me. I was just going to ask you about capital gains tax.
Yes.
And my brother and I had an apartment. We're selling it. He lives there permanently. Can I claim body corporate on my capital gains part? I've never lived there.
Okay, so you and your brother own a property he lived in?
Yes.
So that's his principal place of residence. So that would be capital gains tax free for him, and your capital gains tax calculation will be based on the capital items, not the expenses, the annual expenses like body corporate. So things that would count to increase your cost base would be stamp duty, legal fees, and repairs, things of that nature. And then at the end, when you get the money, Obviously, if it's 50-50, half the proceeds you can take off the cost of agents' commission, advertising and things like that. So you can't take off expenses like rates and body corporate and insurance because they're day-to-day rates, they're day-to-day expenses, which is unfortunate because you didn't buy it as an investment, did you? I wonder if you could apply to that. That's actually a tricky one. You might have just fallen between the cracks.
The cracks.
Because when you think about it, your intention was to what? Buy a rental property or buy a principal place of residence with your brother?
Share it till we sort of settle down.
I reckon you might ask the tax office. I've never thought about this before, but your intention wasn't to buy an investment property, so. I wonder if you can claim it. A really good question, Margaret. I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Good question.
But I'd do you have a good tax agent? Good accountant?
Well, I actually read an article in the Financial Review that actually said you can claim it.
Well, there you go. I something tweaked in my mind. As long as it wasn't your principal place of residence and it wasn't an investment property, it sort of falls in between the cracks.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an ATO ruling on it, but if you don't have a good tax agent, leave your details off here and I can get someone to call you.
Hold there, Margaret. We'll find out the definitive answer for you. With the eggs in the one basket theory that you financial advisors always use as an analogy,
Yep.
What is of the pie graph?
Yep.
Third property, third shares, third other stuff. Is there any sort of formula you work to in that regard?
It's funny you should say that.
Third gold, Mark reckons.
Third goal?
Yeah, gold.
Oh, gold. Sorry, I'll put my earplugs out. Pull my earplugs out. Look, what that asset allocation is determined by is your time horizon. If you're a young person and you've got 40 or 50 years before you have to access those dollars that you've invested, I'd have 100% in shares and property.
Yeah, 50 each.
Yeah, probably 60-40, 50-50, or 40-60, depends on your flavour. Personal preferences. So, because those two asset classes, shares and property, have got the best returns over the longer term, but they give you the heebie-jeebies in smaller periods because they can fluctuate in value and you can be caught out. Yeah. So, over the long term, if you're a younger person, but what we find is people who have got their funds in, say, I'll put it in a younger person's asset allocation, they get to retirement age, we give them a heart attack. We'll say to them, look guys, you're 64, you're not 46 or 26. You really should think about reducing your exposure to shares and property and having more defensive assets because as you get
What's
old...
a defensive asset?
Well, things like cash, bonds, infrastructure to a certain extent, and some capital guaranteed investment.
Cash? What, just cash sitting there earning 5%?
Yeah, 5 or 3 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And government bonds earning a bit more than that. But you've got to be everything other than cash can fluctuate in value. So you've got to be careful how you manage that. But there are some capital guaranteed investments you can get these days if you're looking at retirement and you perhaps don't have a hell of a lot of money and you might see yourself being qualifying for the age pension. You can boost your age pension benefits by buying certain types of guaranteed annuities. So you wouldn't put all of your money there, but you might put 10, 20, 30% of it. And it gives you that chunk of your pie that's in a defensive asset. It's fixed for life sometimes, but there are guaranteed payments if you die prematurely, and it goes to your spouse if you have a spouse. So we often use that in a blend. So when we're making the Neenish tart, it isn't 50-50.
Right. I see what you're saying. We've got some more calls coming up. Dominic Alafaci's here from Collins House at 8 to 10. All of the lines are free except from Peter. Good morning.
Good morning. How you going?
Yeah, good, Pete.
Hi, Pete. How can we help?
All right. My accountant this year has asked me to get a itemised bill from Telstra, which they don't do. They just give you a bill. And it's pretty much a hassle to get this itemised account from them with all my phone calls. Now, I'm a sole trader and I use my phone for my business, and the accountant said, I have to highlight all the private calls I make other than my work calls. Now, this doesn't make any sense because I'm on an unlimited plan. So it wouldn't matter if I made 1 million calls. What difference does it make? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he may be trying to proportion the percentage of your $100 a month, let's say it is, that are for personal use and how many are for business use. So let's say it's 70% business use. He would probably say, well, we can only claim $70 of your $100 a month. He's a very meticulous accountant, if you ask me. I haven't seen that before. I've heard of in large corporations, employers asking their employees to highlight what personal calls that they make as a rough percentage. It's a bit like when you drive your car, you keep a logbook and you can claim, if you're self-employed or you're using your car for work purposes, you can claim a percentage of the running costs. So I assume he's using that system, but to be honest with you, Peter, how much is your plan a month?
Only $45.
So we're proportion, like...
I've had this happen with my tax. It is a proportion. We're looking for a percentage. Well, it may not be worth it for a slice of $45 a month, Peter, for your sanity.
I agree. I was going to say there's a thing called materiality, and is it worthwhile spending your time and money to justify $18 coming off your $45 or something? To me, I think it's over the top. But if your accountant is that meticulous, you're going to have a rough guesstimate and say, look, I think it's 20% personal use, and let him take off $9. Maybe.
Yeah.
How's that, Pete?
Okay. Thanks very much.
No worries. We're almost there, Dominic. That offer, how do we get involved with that offer, the teleconferencing?
Yeah, you get a video conference with myself. You go to collinshouse.com and there's a button up the top you can book an appointment. We're starting them in October and November and December, so there's probably about 50 appointments available, and then I think I'll turn it off for this year. Got to go to Christmas.
Yes.
Go Pies next week.
Oh.
Who's going to win tonight, do you think?
Oh, I think Brisbane.
Yeah, they're going to be hard to beat. I'd rather play Carlton, but I don't think I could stand if Carlton beat Collingwood again in the grand final. 1970, I got my head kicked in at school. The only Collingwood supporter there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, I was too.
Were you?
Anyway.
Oh, buck up, you two.
We're old.
God.
We're getting old now. We're philosophical. Aren't we philosophical?
Very philosophical. Look back at life and...
Yes, and say... Don't give a rat's backside.
That's it. Dominic Alafarci, collinshouse.com. See you, Emily.
Bye-bye, boys.
See you, Em.
See you, Dominic.
See you, Derek.
Up next, kitchen, bathroom, laundry.